Join me as I race against the clock to tackle a series of crazy challenges before time runs out. You don't have forever. I don't care what the world told you, what your friends told you, what your fear told you. Time doesn't wait. You might feel like you've got years to figure it out, like you've got space to keep making excuses, like one more delay won't make a difference. But life doesn't hand out extensions. Life doesn't pause because you're confused. Life doesn't slow down because you're scared. It keeps moving, the clock keeps ticking, and the truth is, you only get so many mornings to wake up. You only get so many chances to say, I'll do it tomorrow, before eventually tomorrow becomes a word you can't use anymore. Eventually, your name becomes a memory. People stop asking where you went. They stop wondering why you didn't do what you said you would do. And instead of celebrating your legacy, they talk about what you could have been instead of what you became. That's why this moment right here, right now, matters more than you think. This isn't just another day. This is a divine appointment. This is a door that won't stay open forever. This is opportunity staring you in the face. And it's not going to wait for your fear to calm down or your confidence to catch up. You either walk through the door or you don't. But don't you dare stand there hoping time will stretch itself for you. It won't. That's not how this works. There's somebody out there watching you live small, watching you hide behind your doubts, watching you pretend you're not gifted, watching you hesitate while the clock is ticking. That's time slipping through your fingers. That's potential dying in plain sight. And here's the hard truth. You can't get that back. You can't rewind the clock. You don't get to press pause. You don't get a redo just because you weren't feeling motivated. What you do now is what you live with later. What you build now is what you'll have when the opportunity passes. So stop acting like time is on your side. It's not. It never has been. There are people who woke up this morning with plans. Plans to start their business, plans to fix their relationships, plans to apologize, plans to dream again, and they didn't make it to lunch. They didn't get the rest of the day. They didn't get one more chance. And you think you've got all year. You think you've got time to waste sitting in confusion. You better wake up and understand. Life is not obligated to give you enough days to fulfill your dreams. That's why you've got to move with urgency. Wake up like you're being chased by purpose. Wake up like the clock is hunting you down, because it is. Every second you waste waiting for perfect conditions is a second someone else is using to pass you. Someone else is running toward the same finish line, except they're not carrying the weight of doubt. They're not dragging fear. They're not stumbling over procrastination. They're focused. They're driven. And while you're hesitating, they're executing. You've got dreams in your heart, but you're moving like you've got time to spare. You keep telling yourself you'll start when you feel ready. But what if ready never comes? What if the perfect time never shows up? You'll be sitting in the same place 5 years from now, with the same ideas, the same frustrations, and the same regret. All because you thought you had time. Listen to me. Passion without motion is fantasy. A dream without action is a distraction. Don't just talk about what you're going to do. Don't just dream about it. Don't just plan it out in your head. That vision board, that journal, that idea you keep coming back to, that means nothing if you don't get up and move. Time doesn't care how talented you are. It doesn't care how smart you are. It doesn't care how much potential you have. It rewards the ones who move. It honors the ones who take the first step. You want success? Then move like your days are numbered, because they are. Move like every hour matters, because it does. Move like you're on borrowed time, because you are. Don't live like life owes you anything. It doesn't. You weren't promised an easy road. You weren't promised endless opportunities. What you were given is this moment, and if you waste it, that's on you. Life doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your distractions. It doesn't pause for your fear. You've got to push through it. You've got to act in spite of it. Fear will rob you blind if you let it. Fear will whisper, wait, while purpose is screaming now. Fear is not your friend. Fear is a liar. And if you keep listening to it, it'll talk you out of your calling. It'll convince you to play small. It'll decorate your comfort zone and make it look like safety, but it's not safe, it's a trap. You were never meant to shrink. You were born to expand. You were born to grow, to stretch, to rise. There's a fire inside you. I know you feel it. You feel it when you see someone else doing what you were born to do. You feel it when you're quiet, when the noise fades, and your soul reminds you of what you're here for. But instead of being inspired, you let envy creep in. Instead of using their example as proof that it's possible, you let doubt convince you it's too late. You shrink when you should rise. You pull back when you should press forward. And why? Because you keep thinking you'll get around to it later. But later is not a guarantee. Later is an illusion. Later is a thief dressed in comfort. All you really have is right now. Right now is the opportunity. Right now is the open door. Right now is the seed. And if you don't plant it today, don't expect a harvest tomorrow. The people you see winning, they're not always the most talented. They're not always the most connected, but they're almost always the most committed. Most of them didn't get lucky. Most of them just ran out of excuses before you did. They got up earlier. They stayed up later. They made sacrifices. They endured failure. They heard no 1,000 times and kept going. They didn't have more time than you. They just used what they had more wisely. And while you're scrolling through someone else's highlight reel, your own story is gathering dust. You're watching, admiring, wishing, dreaming, but not moving. That's not living. That's just existing. You weren't made to just exist. You weren't made to just wake up, work, scroll, and sleep. You were made to live, to build, to impact, to create. You were made to leave something behind that says, I was here and I mattered. But that won't happen by accident. That won't happen by hoping. That happens by intention. That happens by decision. You don't need perfect clarity. You don't need every detail figured out. What you need is motion. Clarity comes after obedience, not before. Purpose doesn't show up in full color when you sit on your couch waiting. Purpose reveals itself when you move, when you take the step, when you lean in even when it's uncomfortable. Stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision. And your future is too valuable to be left up to how you feel. You don't have time to waste being afraid. You don't have time to waste seeking approval. You don't have time to waste shrinking for the sake of someone else's comfort. Every time you lower your standard to make someone else feel better, you betray your calling. Every time you say yes to things that drain you, you say no to the things that build you. And here's what you've got to understand. Time is not going to slow down just because you need more courage. Time is not going to pause because you're second guessing yourself. It moves with or without you. You think you're playing it safe by waiting. You're not. You're playing small, and playing small is dangerous. It's dangerous because it becomes a habit. It becomes your normal. It becomes the lens through which you see every opportunity as too big, too scary, too risky. You don't need more time. You need more boldness. You don't need more resources. You need more resolve. You don't need permission. You need to understand that you were already approved when you were born. This life is short, shorter than you think, and the saddest thing in the world is to get to the end and realize you never really lived. You existed, you stayed safe, you followed the rules, you pleased people. But you never walked in the fullness of your purpose. Don't be that person. Don't let your story be one of regret. You've got time right now, not forever, not unlimited, but enough to start, enough to shift, enough to rise. And if you keep waiting, that time will run out. Just like that. You think waiting means you're being wise. You think waiting means you're preparing. but waiting can turn into hiding if you're not honest with yourself. There's a difference between strategy and procrastination. There's a difference between building a foundation and building excuses. Don't confuse stillness with progress. If you're not moving forward, you're not preparing. You're avoiding. And life doesn't give trophies to those who almost tried. It honors those who showed up scared, moved uncertain, spoke up when they felt small, and took the shot when the target wasn't even clear. You've got to stop trying to make everything perfect before you act. Nothing's ever perfect. The stars won't align. The timing won't be flawless. The money might not be in place. The support might be shaky. But if the call is there, then your time is now. Somewhere deep down, you already know what you're supposed to be doing. It's not that you don't know. It's that you keep trying to convince yourself you need more time. You keep looking around at people who started before you and telling yourself you're behind. But you're not behind. You're just distracted. Every second you spend comparing yourself to someone else is a second you could have spent investing in what's yours. You don't need to compete. You don't need to chase trends. You don't need to prove yourself to people who don't even understand what you carry. What you need is to take responsibility for your assignment. What you need is to stop running from your own calling. Nobody's coming to wake you up. Nobody's coming to hand you a golden ticket. The doors you're waiting for aren't always opened by someone else. They are often opened by your own discipline, your own persistence, your own willingness to outlast the fear. The world doesn't give greatness to the talented. It gives it to the ones who outlast the delay. It gives it to the ones who learn how to keep showing up even when it's dark, even when it's lonely, even when the results don't look like the dream yet. You want success. You better learn how to be consistent when nobody is clapping. You better learn how to keep going when nobody is watching. You better learn how to show up not for attention, but because you refuse to waste the time you've been given. You keep telling yourself you need a sign. You're waiting for something supernatural, something loud, something unmistakable. But what if the sign is the very restlessness you feel? What if the discomfort is the indicator? What if the pressure isn't punishment, but preparation? What if the frustration is fuel, and you've been sitting on it, letting it eat away at you, instead of burning it to ignite your next move? Stop waiting for lightning. Stop waiting for the sky to open. You were already called. You were already chosen. Your very breath is evidence that your time hasn't expired. But it's not unlimited either. And just because you woke up today doesn't mean you get to waste it. Look around, look at the people you admire, the people who are living fully, walking boldly, creating, building, impacting. Do you think they got there by sitting in silence, wondering if they were good enough? No, they moved anyway. They doubted themselves and did it anyway. They feared the unknown and jumped anyway. They didn't feel ready, but they respected time too much to sit still. That's the kind of mindset that changes lives. That's the kind of urgency that builds legacies, and that's the mindset you need to adopt right now, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, you don't get to waste time and then complain about the results you didn't get. You don't get to ignore your purpose and then be frustrated when life feels empty. You don't get to reject discipline and then cry about lack. Time is not just passing, it's revealing. It's showing you who really wants it. It's showing you who's willing to go beyond the feelings and step into the fire. It's showing you what's possible when you decide to act without all the answers. You want to wait until you understand everything. You'll be waiting forever. Some things you only learn by moving. Some wisdom you only gain by walking through it. Some growth only happens when you step into the unknown. Stop talking yourself out of what's already yours. Stop waiting for permission to start. Nobody needs to understand your vision. It wasn't given to them. It was given to you. And the truth is, most people won't understand it. That's not their fault. It's just not their mission. You don't need universal applause to start walking. You don't need a crowd to begin climbing. You just need to decide that your time is too valuable to waste living someone else's story. Your life was never meant to be a copy. Stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never built for you. Stop bending to blend in. You were born to stand out, but you've got to step out to find out. Every time you say, "I'll start next week," you're gambling with a resource you don't control. Every delay is a bet that tomorrow will show up, and maybe it will, but maybe it won't. Are you ready to risk that? Are you willing to bet your assignment on the idea that you'll get another chance? You don't need fear to control you. Let fear wake you up. Let it remind you that this thing is fragile. Let it remind you that purpose doesn't wait for convenience. It demands commitment. It demands courage. You either fight for it or you lose it. There are gifts in you that the world has never seen. There are ideas in your spirit that were put there on purpose. And if you don't develop them, if you don't release them, the world goes without them. That's the real tragedy, not just a life that ends early, but a life that ends full of things that were never poured out. Don't let that be your story. You've got time right now to make a different decision. You've got time right now to draw a line in the sand and say, "No more wasting my hours on fear. No more feeding my doubt. No more rehearsing why I can't." You've got time to start becoming the person your purpose requires. Not the person your comfort prefers. Not the person your past predicted. The person your calling demands. You don't have to do it all at once, but you do have to do something. Take the first step. Make the first call. Write the first sentence. Show up for the first workout. Save the first dollar. Ask the first question. Time doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to movement. You say you're waiting on God, but maybe God's waiting on you. Waiting on you to stop stalling. Waiting on you to stop acting like your time is guaranteed. You want the reward without the work. You want the fruit without the root. You want the outcome without the discipline. But that's not how greatness works. That's not how purpose is built. You get what you're willing to pursue, not what you casually desire. When it's all said and done, what will your story say? Will it say you were afraid, so you stayed where it was safe? Or will it say you felt the fear and moved anyway? Will it say you waited for the right time and it never came? Or will it say you made time bow to your decision? Will it say you lived cautious and died wondering? Or will it say you risked it all and lived with no regret? The pen is in your hand, the ink is still fresh, but time is drying it quickly. Every day you delay, the page turns. Don't let the last chapter be filled with could-haves. Fill it with "I did, I tried, I gave it all." It doesn't matter how long you've waited. It doesn't matter how many years you feel you've lost. The only thing that matters now is what you do with what's left. Don't keep telling the story of why you didn't. Start living the story of how you did, and when it gets hard, and it will, remember that pain is temporary, but purpose is forever. Frustration is real, but quitting doesn't make it better. Pushing through it is what builds the strength you'll need for the next level, and there is a next level. There's more for you, but only if you move, only if you honor the time you have left. Every great thing you see started with a decision. One moment of courage, one refusal to waste time, one act of obedience, one step. So what's stopping you from taking yours? So now the question is simple. What are you going to do with the time you have left? Not the time you hope to have, not the time you think you deserve, the time that's in your hands right now, because the clock isn't slowing down. It's not going to wait for your fear to fade or your doubts to disappear. You've been given this moment, this breath, this opportunity, not to waste, not to wonder, but to work, to build, to move, to rise. You weren't born just to survive the days, you were born to impact them. And the world is not waiting for another perfect person. It's waiting for a real one, someone willing to stand up, speak up, and show up even when it's hard, even when it's scary, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Don't let the enemy of someday steal the power of right now. You don't need more time, you need more focus. You don't need more answers, you need more action. And if you're still breathing, then your purpose is still beating. So get up, lock in, and go make this moment count. Because your time is limited, and greatness will not wait.